2013 was a really interesting year for me. That was the year that I actually began studying religion, picking up books, watching documentaries and films, and really searching for the truth. And it's really all in thanks to my friendly neighborhood Jehovah Witnesses. In the spring of 2013, one lazy Sunday afternoon, I heard a knock on my front door. This was strange because we don't really use the front door here. We use the back door as that's where all the parking's at. So I open it up and I'm greeted by this smiling couple. J-dubs. Growing up, I remember we used to love interacting with the Jehovah Witnesses. My mom would invite them in, sit them down on the couch very politely, and then she would hand them her literature and tell them very politely why they were wrong and why they were going to hell. These particular believers, Joe and Bonnie, seemed very nice and very eager to speak with me, and I still considered myself a believer at the time, even though I was an apathetic one. So I stepped out, I had nothing else better to do, and chatted them up a little bit. We spoke a little bit about the Bible and Jesus' message, but time was running short and they asked if they could come back. I'm always down for a chat, so I said sure, come on back. So over the course of about 6 months, about once or twice a month, they would come on over, usually on a Sunday afternoon, and we would discuss religion, the scriptures, raising kids, and anything that really came to mind at the time. They were very friendly, they weren't pushy at all, and we had very polite conversations. But I didn't really know very much about their religion, so I wanted to start investigating what it was that they believed. Their pamphlets they gave me some information, but they were pretty vague about a lot of things. I wanted to know what the dirt was on them. Here's a tip to any Christians watching. Be careful. Be careful researching other people's religion in order to prove them wrong. You just might end up going down the rabbit hole, and then you find out that everything you thought you knew was true is actually false. So be very careful with whom you're trying to prove wrong. It might end up being yourself. That's what happened to me. I started off by reading Catholic apologetics websites about Jehovah Witnesses and their beliefs and how to counter their beliefs and things to ask them. But there's only so much you can find on a Catholic apologetics website. There's only so much information that they're going to give you. So I branched out. I went to YouTube and I started watching videos of ex-Jehovah Witnesses speaking about their time in the church and the cult-like atmosphere that surrounds the Jehovah Witness and their beliefs. Really terrifying but fascinating at the same time. I should have stopped there, but I didn't. I kept watching video after video that kept popping up in regards to religion, and one tangent led to another, and another video led to another, and I kept watching them all. Every video seemed to have more information about something that either I didn't know or I thought I had known, and some of them were very convincing. I was a sponge that was absorbing all the information I could at this point. The clincher was in researching the devil. Had I stopped there, had I stopped before that point, I probably would not have gone on with my deconversion. It would have lasted decades, or never at all. Heck, I probably could have, even at that point, have gone back to being a practicing Catholic. But I didn't stop. Over the last year or so, I've been writing a novel where Lucifer, the devil, plays a very important role. I've used the devil many times in short stories. I like the contrast between good and evil, and the devil makes an awesome character because he's very complex and he is this well-recognized figure. But I didn't really know much about him. So I began to research him, to actually try and get into his character, into his mind, if you will. What was he all about? Where did he come from? I thought I knew. 2 weeks, hours and hours of research later, and 4 documentaries through, and I no longer believe in the devil. He wasn't this mastermind of evil, this Moriarty to Sherlock Holmes. He wasn't this supreme enemy of God that I had always thought he was, that he's so often depicted as and taught to be. He wasn't even real. He's just a myth. He was a conglomeration of Jewish fears, pagan gods, and Christian hatred. He was everything that was bad about ourselves rolled up into one single entity. And he wasn't that bad of a guy. Seriously, you look in the Bible and you think that someone as evil as the devil must have a kill count of people that he has murdered equal to or greater than the worst murderers in history, like Hitler or Stalin. Surely, this guy is just the devil incarnate. But if you look at the Bible, funny enough, it's really the exact opposite. Satan has a grand total of 10 deaths attributed to him. And those would be the children of Job. You might be able to make a case and say there were a little more with the servants of Job, but that number still stays below 50, well below 50. In contrast, God has 2.5 million people in the Bible he is directly responsible for killing. And that number goes up even greater when you look at the indirect killings by God. 2.5 million people. Who's the real enemy of humanity in the Bible? This startling realization made me really question everything that was in the Bible. Could any of it be true? Was it all false? Was it meant metaphorically? Could it be an allegory? What was going on? I began to delve furiously into studying the Bible and the history behind it. I watched documentaries, I read history books, I read archaeology papers, I took science classes, and one by one, all of the beliefs I held, the literal ones at least, were stripped away. There was no exodus from Egypt. There's no proof of that at all. As far as we know, the Jewish nation never was in Egypt, other than a few small towns. There was no Abraham, no Isaac, Moses, Joshua, and probably not even a King David as the Bible depicts him. There was no mighty empire of Israel. The Israelites themselves were an offshoot of the Canaanite tribe. They were always in Israel. They never left. There was no proof of it at all. And in the New Testament, the entire town of Nazareth was made up. That happened when Matthew mistranslated the word Nazarite, which is a religious custom of not cutting hair and taking certain religious oaths. He thought it actually meant a Nazarene, meaning a person from the town called Nazareth. Mistranslated it, created a whole town where to place Jesus at. The town didn't actually exist until the late 3rd century, early 4th century. It's made up, entirely fictional. I was reeling from these discoveries. This might be old news to some people in the Great Debate, but this was brand new information. I hadn't even realized that these deeply set beliefs were even up for debate. Two things made me pause. And they really gave me hope that the Bible might be accurate. The age of the earth, and the creation of the earth, and the flood. Surely something that large, such as the flood, couldn't have been hidden. There's no way else to explain this than a global, worldwide, massive flood that wiped out all life. I mean, I heard about extinction, so of course, there must have been some sort of worldwide catastrophe. Surely there was evidence of this. I remember talking with my dad, who went to school for geology, explaining how floods could create valleys and rivers could carve out and erode great valleys. I was very optimistic, I think the term is, to find evidence that the flood existed, that the creation of the world happened the way it did, and that the Bible could be taken as some sort of verified truth. Something this big could not be ignored. It had to be true, right? Right?